Hello gamers, I hope you're having an awesome day. My name is Rob and I'm reviewing the PS5 Pro. And I managed to get my hands on the 30th anniversary and I am really happy about that because I have been a fan since PlayStation 1, but do not let that fool you. I am going to be completely honest, non-biased, and just purely objective with my review on the PS5 Pro because, let's face it, it is nowhere near a perfect console. It has been having a lot of struggles since it launched, and I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and some of the mixed stuff, and whether it's been worth it for me, and whether I think it's worth it for you, and just who is it for. I'm going to talk about the pricing and a lot of games, and also the PSSR upscaler, and if it delivers what was promised, and the future of the PS5 Pro. But before we get into it, if you enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like button as it helps me a lot as a small YouTuber. And if you don't, simply give it a dislike. And if you want more real gaming content, you know what to do. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. So one of the selling points of the PS5 Pro was that you could play games in the quality mode, but now at 60 FPS instead of 30 like it is on the base PS5. And sadly, not many games do this. I can think of a couple of games at the top of my head right now, and one of them is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and the other is Demon's Souls. And I'm sure there are a couple of more, but then there are some games that actually deliver higher fidelity than the base PS5's quality mode, but still manages to push that 60 FPS, which is amazing. But I think where the PS5 Pro does shine the most is with its PlayStation Studios games. So games such as Horizon Forbidden West, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Gran Turismo 7, Ghost of Yotei, Demon's Souls, and The Last of Us games. And then there are quite a few games that is actually looking significantly worse than the base PS5 versions of games, and especially with games that is running in the Unreal Engine 5 engine. And when the devs have implemented the PSSR upscaler, and it just shows really poor results, where the image is just really blurry and you see a lot of shimmering in the foliage, and it just looks bad. And then there are also those games that are not even PS5 Pro enhanced at all. Even games that aren't PS5 Pro enhanced, it's still giving you a boost because a lot of games are using a dynamic resolution, and also some games are uncapping the frame rate. So you can either see a boost in resolution or in frames per second. And in some cases, it's actually better for some games to not be PS5 Pro enhanced. Because if you look at a game like Silent Hill 2 Remake, for example, that was developed by Bloober Team, now that PS5 Pro enhancement was absolutely terrible, where the game sometimes actually looks worse than the base PS5. And not only that, it even performs worse than the base PS5. So what they did with Chronos, The New Dawn, for example, is they just completely skipped the PS5 Pro enhancement altogether, which I think was a good thing because they really don't know how to work with PSSR yet. But you still get a big boost in frame rate in Chronos The New Dawn. But I just have to throw this in. Chronos The New Dawn is an amazing game and one of my favorite experiences this year. But we also get some amazing third-party support as well, with games such as Death Stranding 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Resident Evil 4 and 8, Control, Mafia, The Old Country, Lords of the Fallen, Lies of P, The Callisto Protocol, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, Battlefield 6, Empire of the Ants, and also Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. But let's go over some of the bad. So Star Wars Outlaws, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Silent Hill F, Silent Hill 2 Remake, which I talked about earlier. And here comes the biggest disappointment of them all, and that has to be The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which is an absolute disaster. But however, I gotta say that Star Wars Outlaws is doing great now, but it was terrible when they dropped that first PS5 Pro enhancement. But they have done a really good job of fixing Outlaws, I gotta say. And Avatar Frontiers of Pandora was just as bad with its first PS5 Pro enhancement, but they fixed it kind of. You can just turn the PSSR upscaler off, and it just looks a lot better again. So that's good. But then having a game like Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater running so poorly, and it sucks to see it happening to such a huge franchise and with a, well, huge fan base. And then when you look at Silent Hill F, and that looks just absolutely straight up terrible, it looks a lot worse than the base PS5 version. You just get a ton of shimmering in the foliage, and it just looks straight up bad. And how can you even release a game like The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, also with a huge fan base? And even still, to this day, it has not been fixed. It is a straight up mess. But however, Metal Gear Solid Delta and The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion isn't just having problems on the PS5 Pro. Those games are struggling everywhere else too. But you'd think that they could run at least a bit better on the PS5 Pro, but that is not really the case. But with Metal Gear Solid Delta, they did improve it a little bit with the latest patch. But Oblivion is just completely untouched and still as big of a mess as it was at launch. Let's talk about the pricing of the PlayStation 5 Pro, and this is where the console just received a lot of negativity, and it's understandable. I mean, it launched at a price of 700 US dollars or 700 pounds or 800 euro, and in my case, where I am located, it's actually 1,000 US dollars, and it's pretty absurd, I gotta say, especially when it is not including a disc drive. I don't think it was worth the asking price, at least at launch, without a disk drive, because when they launched the PS5 Pro, it was really not a lot of support at all. We had to wait for a lot of support, and also when we actually got some support, when the games were updated, a lot of the times the updates were pretty poor. Some were fantastic, and some were just straight up bad. It is looking a lot better today, obviously, as the games that are releasing have been developed with the PS5 Pro in mind. But there are still games coming out that are not doing well on the PS5 Pro and with PSSR. So I think the asking price is not that fair, just because it's like we've been in the beta stages for quite a while and still are, I think, in 2026. I think then we're probably going to exit the beta phase with the next update to PSSR and really see some amazing stuff. And I think that those of us who did invest in a PS5 Pro is really gonna get our money's worth in 2026 with the next PSSR update. Because there are some games that are absolutely amazing on the PS5 Pro, and I think it's only gonna get better. And devs have gotten a lot better at utilizing the PSSR upscaler. And then there are some that still just have no clue of what they're doing, but maybe it's gonna get a lot easier when we get PSSR 2.0. Do I recommend the PS5 Pro? Yes and no. It really just depends on the player, how much you care about that extra little boost in resolution or performance, and also whether you want to kind of gamble with it as well, because we still don't know with the future games like how they're going to be taking advantage of the PS5 Pro hardware and the PSSR upscaler. We just don't know, so it's a bit of a gamble. But I'd say still, like for the most part, most games are enhanced, but some games are dehanced, and sometimes you get a lot of shimmering in the foliage and some blurriness, but you can still get like better performance. Also, it really matters on what type of display that you have. So I honestly would not recommend it if you do not have a 120 hertz display with VRR, because that's where you're really going to take full advantage of the PS5 Pro hardware. That's when you can get frame rates over 60 and all the way up to 120 FPS, which is fantastic. And there's a lot of games that actually offer this. And then there are also some games that give you the option to play in a balanced mode as well. But there are not that many games lately that have come out that do offer a balanced mode. The best thing is when developers actually give you the option to uncap the frame rate. That's when you're really going to see like the frame rate just go really high, which is fantastic. And that's where the Pro actually does a really good job. Just, well, I mean, big thanks to the extra power of the PS5 Pro compared to the base PS5, you're going to see quite a big boost. But it's really the future of the PS5 Pro that I am very, very interested in. And just to see what the next version of PSSR is going to do to games, and also how maybe it's going to help developers and make it easier to use PSSR, and just to eliminate that ugly shimmering that we see in a lot of games, sadly. And the big question, how is GTA 6 going to run on the PS5 Pro? Is Rockstar Games going to take advantage of the PSSR and maybe get the frame rate over 30 FPS? Who knows? Time will tell. I doubt we're gonna see anything close to 60 FPS because they're just gonna push such high fidelity. But maybe a 40 FPS mode, who knows? I am personally happy with my PlayStation 5 Pro because I like having that extra edge, but also I enjoy new tech as well. Even though it's not perfect, there are a few games that look worse. Most games are enhanced, but some games are dehanced. The Pro support was kind of lacking in the beginning, but it definitely got better with time. So it's definitely had its ups and downs, but as a whole, I think it is a good console, and I think it's only gonna get better. The PlayStation 5 Pro is definitely not a necessity. It is a niche product, and it is not for the majority of gamers. The base PlayStation 5 is doing just fine. It is an amazing console. I am very excited for the future of the PS5 Pro. Maybe it's not worth it at this time for some, but I think that in 2026, at some point, after that PCSR update, I think it's definitely gonna attract a lot more people. At least that's my opinion. If you're not sold on it yet, just hold out a bit longer. I think the Pro support is definitely gonna be a lot greater very soon. But that's going to do it for my review of the PlayStation 5 Pro. Please let me know what you think of this video. And also, if you have a PS5 Pro, let me know whether it has been worth it for you or not. And if you don't have one and maybe have any interest in it or are unsure of whether to get one or not, and if this video maybe helped you out in deciding whether you want one or don't, or simply maybe you don't have any interest in it whatsoever, please just let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. And if you want more real gaming content, you know what to do. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. Keep it real and happy gaming.